Mrs. Stewart Moses.
Fellow Toastmasters, judges, I'm anxious. I'm anxious because I'm becoming dad. And I don't mean I'm becoming a dad, because I'm already a dad. I'm becoming my dad. I'm becoming my own dad. And the thing is, this was not supposed to happen. I mean, he's a great guy. I love my dad. But I promised myself, when I was 6 years old and he embarrassed the heck out of me, I promised myself I would never become my dad. And I'm becoming my dad. I'm starting to look like him, starting to sound like him, starting to act like him. And there's nothing I can do about it. And I noticed it when I was looking in the mirror, and I just noticed a little bit of fur. And this memory came back. It was like a nightmare. I was really close to my dad. He had just hugged me. It was like an intimate moment. I could see every little hair and pimple on his face. And then he turned his head, you know? And it was like, I had to duck, because his ear hair was like stalks. Long, furry, tenacious, dangerous things flying over my head. It was, I almost lost hair myself. And it was scary. It was dangerous. I remember thinking at that moment, why doesn't he cut those things? And then I started to learn. It's not so easy. I mean, at first I could just pull them out and that was fine. But then they got, you know, they came back kind of stronger, and so I had to use tweezers. And the tweezers were okay for a while, but they started getting thicker. And the tweezers weren't working, so I started using scissors. And then they started getting a little bit woody, and my wife was complaining all the scissors were dull. So I went to Jerry's, and I got some pruning shears. That was fine. The pruning shears were working great, but they started kind of getting like a little bit more like bamboo, and the pruning shears would break. I was going to Jerry's all the time to get pruning shears. Finally, the guys at Jerry's helped me out, and they hooked me up with an electric hedge trimmer, which is excellent. In fact, I am like a success case at Jerry's, and I'm going to be in a new Jerry's advertisement. It's going to show me with my hedge trimmer, shaving my ear hair, a little tagline that says, "It's getting hairy out there. Better head for Jerry's." But it's getting hard to keep up. I mean, I gave up on my shoulder hair. I used to cut that, and I can't keep up. It's sort of, now that it's grown into a little bit more like fur, I feel like it makes me a little buff, so I like that. But the ear hair, this is not, just to be clear, this is not a vanity thing. I don't cut my ear hair because of vanity. It's a safety issue. You know, I want my kids to be able to hug me without worrying that they're gonna like get an eye poked out. And it's a function issue, because these things are like dry corn stalks sticking out of my ears. And some people have trouble hearing with background noise. I have trouble hearing with a background breeze. But it's really hard. It's really hard to keep up. This is a 24-hour job, not looking like my dad. And I don't know if I'm going to make it. But it doesn't matter. Even if I could not look like my dad, I'm starting to sound like him right now. I'm starting to act like him. He used to do this thing when I was a kid. Everybody was my friend. And he would always mix up names, like common names, names of movies, actors. He'd always get it wrong. So he'd be like, "Hey, look, it's your friend, Alan Pacino from Scarman." It's like, no, it's Scarface. It's not Alan Pacino, it's Al Pacino. Come on. And he's not my friend. But it turns out I'm doing the same thing. Last year, my son was 5, and I said, "Hey, look, it's John from the Wigglies, your friend John from the Wigglies." And he says, "Dad, it's not John, it's Greg. And it's not the Wigglies, it's the Wiggles. And he's not my friend." That was like when I was 3 years old. And I got better. The past year, he has not said that once. I was like, oh great, you know, I've fixed this. And then last week, I said, "Look, it's your friend, Bob Nye, the science guy." And I was like, wait, that's not Bob Nye, that's Bill Nye. But my son Izzy, he didn't say, hey Dad, that's not Bob Nye, that's Bill Nye, the science guy, and he's not my friend. He didn't say anything, so I kind of like looked over at him at the corner of my eye, and he's like this. And his 4-year-old brother is next to him, like, he's trained his brother to do. They've been rolling their eyes behind my back for a whole year, and I had no idea. I'm becoming my dad. And I started thinking about this, like, why am I so afraid to become my dad? And I realized I think it's because I'm afraid if I embarrass my kids the way my dad embarrassed me, that I would worry I wouldn't be as lovable to my kids. So I have decided I'm going to embrace this. I am going to become my dad. I'm going to allow myself to become my dad. And this way, who knows? Maybe my kids will love me.